I delight, I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I know of this couple who had a daughter who's a single mother, has two children, and although this couple still works, each has a job, they they make arrangements with the mother of their grandchildren to babysit for her while she is at work because she works long shifts. And that happens every day. To them, they're not paid, of course, but to them, it's an addition to their load, being not that young anymore. They still take care of the grandchildren. But to them, it's not an obligation. To them, it's a joy, it's a privilege, an opportunity to be able to spend time with their grandkids and put into their lives things that they can impart out of their hearts, out of their wisdom. It's not a matter of I have to, but it's a matter of I get to. I have an opportunity to do so, and I do it with joy. The big difference is if the mother of these children hire a babysitter. Of course, it's a transaction, right? She pays her, and the babysitter would do the job because she wants to earn. Big difference is transactional rather than relational. We have a relationship with someone. We would do things for them. They would not have to ask us. They would not have to pay us. It would be our privilege. We would not have to ask, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? And what do I get out of it? No, we will have an attitude of, as mentioned earlier, I get to, not I got to. And this is what David says as he writes that verse that I mentioned earlier. In the scroll of the book, it is written of me. It is written in prophecy of the Messiah. In the scroll of the book, it is written of me. I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. It's a delight. It's a joy to obey you, Lord, to serve you. That's the whole idea. That can only be true if we have a relationship with God, which is why in the first place, our calling is to know God. And know, in that sense, doesn't mean get acquainted with. Know, in that sense, means to be intimate with. We have a relationship with God, what He commands us to do. Really, we will not take as obligation, but pleasure, a delight, right? A delight. In the same Psalm, Psalm 40, just a verse before, or a couple of verses before, it says there, my ears you have opened. The word there really means, my ears you have pierced. And pointing to a ceremony, a ritual that they used to do before. Remember, this was a culture when slavery was accepted. The master has a slave. If it's the Hebrew master, the slave only would serve for 6 years. And then on the 7th year, he was free to go, if it's a slave because of death. But a servant sometimes is given a choice whether he would go free or remain a slave voluntarily for the rest of his life. And when that when the slave makes that choice, the master would stand him up against the wall and would drive a, a nail, an awl, ang tawag doon, awl, through his ear, and then pierce it, and then put an earring on that ear, signifying that this slave has chosen to serve his master for the rest of his life. Not forced, but voluntarily. Yun yung tawag sa atin. St. Paul always uses that same word, ebed in Hebrew, doulos in Greek, but the same word that says, I choose to serve God. Because to me, it's not an obligation. He didn't force me. He doesn't pay me. If he does, he takes care of me, makes sure of that. But it's a delight for me to do his will, to serve him. What an attitude, right? Again, the phrase was applied to the Messiah. Jesus, like I always say, did not have to come down from heaven. He was at the right hand of God, enjoying the pleasure of being in the presence of his Father. And then, because we sinned and we needed a Savior, he came down from heaven for us and for our salvation. He did not have to do that, but he delights to do the will of his Father, which also is his will. May we, because we are followers of Jesus, of the Messiah, may we be true to our word of really following him. We are followers, we would have the same attitude. You know, as a leader, I really don't like giving orders. I would rather people do things not because they were ordered to, but because as Christians, as followers of the Lord, they delight to do his will. And that his law is within their heart. Not their mind, not in a book of canons, not in a book of rules and laws and regulations, but in their heart. They do it because it's a joy. It's a privilege, an honor, an opportunity to serve God. May that be embedded in our hearts, because only then will service really be worthwhile. If we do it out of obligation, it's just a matter of time, we will burn out. We will. That's why you have people quitting. But if it's a joy, then we will choose to do it forever, and we will serve the Lord with joy and gladness in our heart, which is what the whole idea is all about. Jesus, for the joy set before him, endured the pain of the cross, the humiliation, and everything, the torture, the unimaginable stress on one's being. He endured all that. Why? Because there's joy in his eyes. He has set his eyes on the prize, which is the joy of saving people, serving them, and doing them good. That's the way it is in the kingdom of our God.